Stemology, a young scientist survival guide. Session number 5. I'm Alina Adams, and this is Stemology. Thank you for returning to hear more from your STEM survival guide. This podcast is here to provide information and serve as a blueprint to help you navigate your undergraduate obstacles. Not every situation is the same, but we're here for you. Any questions you would like to appear on the show can be sent to stemologyssg@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. As I prefaced in the last episode, a very special guest is here to unpack self-care with us. This is a very unusual time we're going through right now as quarantine continues to constrain our lives. This is something I have always struggled with, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Remember, your future cannot continue without you, so take care of the vessel you were given. I want to take these next few minutes and gain some stress management recommendations from a community-appointed expert, Lauren Eide. Lauren, I'm sure you're very busy. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. I hope you've been well.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talk about one of my favorite topics.
Awesome. Yeah, this will be great. I love talking self-care. So I wanted to start off and ask if your self-care routine has changed drastically from what you were used to in undergrad versus what you've learned to do now in medical school.
Say that it changed drastically. I think that the practices I put into place in my undergrad time, I built upon in medical school, and I'm really glad I put those practices into place because I've been able to use that as a stress reliever, or I've already had those things set in stone, and it hasn't been as hard of a transition for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can definitely learn from that. So, are there some things that you don't even consider as striving for self-care anymore because you do them so regularly?
I would say going to the gym or a workout class, I don't have to think about as much. I've just kind of made it something automatic and ingrained into my schedule. I still think of it as self-care and that I'm getting all of these benefits, but it's so automatic now. It's not hard for me to do at all.
Okay. Yeah, I can totally see that. I'm still in the I have to remind myself every day type of phase where I have to physically kind of make myself sit down and relax sometimes because the pressure kind of builds and you start to feel guilty if you relax for too long, I feel like. So, do you have a different routine based on the amount of time that you have every day, or do you have to make sure to do something for yourself no matter what?
I always make sure to do something, and not every day will look the same, but by structuring routines that allow me to have time to do self-care, that's always been like my number one go-to tip because you can be flexible in some things. Like I don't always read before I go to bed. I want to value my sleep too. But something like just I have this journal and I write something I'm thankful for every day. And that takes like 3 seconds. So I try to do easy things that aren't going to take much time, but I'm still getting some benefit from.
Wow, yeah, that's a great idea. It's so simple and easy to work into any schedule, so that's perfect. So does self-care have to be some extravagant event? Like, does it have to be an expensive face mask or a mini self-vacation? Or can it be something a little more humble and still be called self-care?
I think the more simple, the more humble, the better, because the more often you're going to do it. And you can't only do self-care once a week. It needs to be something that you're doing every day or every other day because you need to take care of yourself in order to keep going. And I think that the more simple it is, the more you're going to be able to maintain it long term.
Okay, so that's our goal here, being able to maintain long term.
Yes.
So what are some of the best ways you can think of to decompress despite daily stressors?
I think the best thing to do is to start out small and build up with just simple habits that you start to put into place. So 2 I can think of is like the gratitude that I was talking about, or maybe doing a 5-minute meditation during the day, or breathing, just something where you're in the habit of doing some sort of self-care activity. And I think that as you start to see it as something that helps you, you're going to continue to do it, and you're going to continue to dedicate that time.
Okay, well, when you put it like that, I kind of think now that maybe I'm engaging in a little more self-care than I thought I was. Maybe just taking a second to probably just like sit there and just think about relaxing, I guess, if that makes sense. Is that the kind of the same meditation they're talking about?
Yeah, I think that everyone is doing self-care, and I think a lot of people think that, oh, it needs to be this huge thing like we were just talking about, but it really doesn't. Everyone's self-care is going to look different. So what I do isn't going to be the same thing as what you do, but if you are getting some benefit out of sitting, relaxing, and thinking, then I would say that's part of your self-care.
Awesome. Now I don't feel so bad, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So are there stereotypical ways to relax and wind down? Like maybe a wine night or something, or just listening to music, mindless scrolling on the gram? Are there any other unorthodox ways to chill out that you can think of?
Yeah, when you say wind down, I kind of think about like winding down before bed, because we're going like a million miles an hour, and then we try to like fall asleep, and it's very hard.
Absolutely.
So for winding down, I love reading before bed or journaling. I'm not the best about journaling, but something I heard the other day was to put down on a piece of paper 5 things you're grateful for, 5 fears or worries that you have, and then 5 things you're proud of. And I'm going to try to put that into place pretty soon, because I think it's good. But I think that winding down is important no matter like how you do it. And so I would just say that if you're going to do it before bed, try to not use a screen as much, or at least limit the time, because that can also affect your sleep schedule.
Okay, I'm really glad you said to try not to use a screen, because that's probably the number one thing that I do. I'll like scroll through something or text my friends real quick before I go to sleep, and that's probably not helpful. But yeah, those are excellent ideas. I also love to bake, so cupcakes specifically are my thing. Sometimes when I'm so stressed, I like to throw all my emotion into these tiny cupcakes and eat my feelings.
That's awesome. I'm glad you have an outlet for when you get stressed, you know what to do. And walk away from what is ever stressful and then do your cupcakes and come back to it. I think that is definitely a great example of self-care.
Yeah, I mean, cupcakes, they take about 45 minutes. Is there like a set time structure that you think is good for self-care?
I don't think I have a set time structure. I think it's whatever you need in the time, and also what your schedule looks like. Because if it's something that is going to take 45 minutes, I mean, maybe you do one of your self-care activities for 45 minutes per day. But if you're doing self-care that's 5 minutes, you could do a lot more. And I don't think you should constrain yourself to a certain amount of time, or even feel obligated to do a certain amount of time, because then you're just going to be stressed out that you're not getting your time in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, the more constraints you probably add to it, the more stress you're going to be trying to hold up those constraints. That's a good point. Is there such a thing as too much self-care?
I think people have a big fear that if they're putting in time to self-care, they're not going to be productive, or they're losing so much time. But how I think about it is, if I'm doing all of these things, I'm becoming more productive, because I'm making myself less stressed, and I'm giving time to myself so that when I do go study or do something else, I have the energy that I need. And so I don't think there could be too much self-care. I think that in general, everyone can benefit from self-care. And as long as you're able to get what you need done and you stick to a schedule, I think that the more you can do for yourself to keep yourself going long term, the better.
Okay, so kind of think of your body as like this huge battery. And if you don't recharge it, you're just, at some point just going to burn out. So that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I always think about like running like a marathon. Like, you can't just every day run a marathon. Like, you have to rest and you have to pace yourself, and you're not obligated in life to just keep running, because no one could do that. We would all burn out. We want to think about the end goal and the long-term like health of ourselves, and not just living for the next test or for the next semester, investing in yourself to give yourself that.
Well, I could probably talk about this forever, but unfortunately that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much again, Lauren. It was awesome being able to reconnect over such a helpful, relaxing conversation with someone I know knows her stuff.
Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone gets in their self-care today. Just do one thing for yourself and you will not regret it.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, next time on Stemology, we will explore a topic that I didn't choose to step on any toes, but I felt like it would be interesting to at least discuss. How much information are you really committing to memory while studying if you're listening to music? What about music without lyrics? Is silence the only true option? Find out in the next episode of Stemology, the Young Scientist Survival Guide. Please share and subscribe to join the STEMology fam. Send in all questions and comments to the show at STEMology@gmail.com so I can bring you the content you want to hear. Thank you for listening to our 5th episode of STEMology, a young scientist survival guide where you are given the tools and tips to succeed. Tune in with me, Alina Adams, for episode 6, Music versus Studying. See you next time.